everyone, my name is Millie and welcome to the Performing Arts and Me. For those of you that don't know who I am a current student at Berg College on their foundation year course, and I'm going to be talking in today's video about what I've learnt so far this half term-ish. I say ish because I can't exactly remember when I filmed the last video. I think it was just before February half term. Yeah, so basically what I've learnt since February half term. Okay, so I'm going to break it down into dance, acting, singing, and then more general. We're going to start with dance. I've got notes in my notebook, which is what I'm referring to, in case you're wondering. So firstly, I learnt that I need to use my muscles when I dance. Now this might sound a little bit a statement of the obvious, because obviously you're dancing, you need to use your muscles, but basically when you're doing, for example, a plie, which if you don't know is where you bend your knees, kind of, that's like the basic explanation of what a plie is. You bend your knees and you're standing on your feet. So you can do that by literally just bending your knees, or you can do that with resistance, which is where you bend your knees but you feel like you're trying to stay upright, if that makes sense. I was trying not to bend your knees, so you're kind of fighting against yourself, and that means you're actually engaging your muscles. Now that is technically a plie if you're engaging your muscles, and if you're not engaging your muscles, according to some of our teachers, that's not a plie, like that's just you bending your knees. So things like that, where there's a way of marking it and just making the shape that isn't using your muscles, or there's a way of doing it where you are engaging your muscles and you're working, and I need to actually use my muscles all the time. This is something else also to do with like my core strength. I don't have the best core strength, but I also forget to use my core when I'm dancing, and so it looks like I have even less core strength because I'm not using what I do have. So I need to remember to use my core, and I need to remember to use my muscles when I dance, rather than just making the shapes. Kind of related to this, but I sort of learned this earlier, and I can't remember whether I ever said it, so I just wanted to stick it in this video, is that learning that, like for example, when I need to keep my pelvis neutral, which means your hips aren't like twisting all over the place, that keeping that in the right position and keeping my shoulders over my pelvis and stuff is more important than getting my leg up, whoop, because if I'm getting my leg up, whoop, do you like the sound effects? If I'm getting my leg up, whoop, and my pelvis is twisted, then effectively my leg's here rather than here if my pelvis were in the right position. And it's more important to keep my pelvis in the right position and to maintain my technique than it is to get my leg up as high as I can, for example. So yeah, that's just something else I wanted to mention, which I think I kind of worked out before this half term, but I don't know if I've said it yet. The next thing that I've got on my list is that I need to trust myself more. This is to do with like picking up the choreography and knowing that I'm doing the steps right. So we were in a ballet lesson and I tend to panic when jumps come on. Not like blind panic, but just like I just feel like I'm not going to get it. So I'm doing my best, or I think I'm doing my best, but actually I'm kind of self-sabotaging because I'm like, well, I might not get it. I mentioned this in the other video. I'm thinking I might not get it, but I'm just going to keep jumping. And actually, my ballet teacher noticed me panicking and was like, I think you know this. Can you do it on your own? And so I did it on my own. He was like, you know 95% of the steps. Why were you panicking about it? And I was like, I don't know. So that's something I need to watch myself for and make sure I don't panic, because I had most of that exercise and I can show myself off to my best more when I'm not panicking about the steps. So even if I forget a few of the steps, that's fine. And that's the thing, like in my head I'm not stressing about getting the steps, I don't think. Oh, this is making no sense. This is what happened last time. I always get like rambly in these videos. Yeah, in my head I'm not thinking, I don't know the steps, I don't know the steps, I don't know the steps, but I think my brain is subconsciously going, she's not going to know the steps, so let's just watch other people, which means I'm always a beat behind because I'm watching other people, but actually I do know the steps. Does this make any sense? I don't know. We're going to move on from this point, but yeah, one thing I've learned is I need to trust myself more. Okay, my next thing is about my pickup speed and my like recall. So these have both improved a lot still. Now pickup speed is like how quickly you can learn a routine, and before it was taking me ages, and this has been improving so much since starting at Bird. But now I'm getting to the point where I can pick up the routine and start to pick up some of the details, which is so nice, because before the teachers would be like going through the routine and breaking down the steps and being like, oh, your leg needs to be more extended at this point, or make sure you think about whipping your head to the front at this point rather than just heading to the back. And I'd be like, okay, yep, got that when we're going through it slowly. When we're going through it quickly, all of that has to go out of my head because all I'm thinking about is the steps. Whereas now I'm starting to get the steps quicker, and so I'm starting to be able to put in little bits of detail, not loads, but yeah, I'm really happy about that. And also in tap, my tap recall and pickup speed is also improving, particularly recalling like steps and things. So yeah, that's something else I've learnt. Two more things for dance, and then I'll move on because I'm aware this section is taking forever. One of them is that I need to work on doing things solo that I've learnt. So like the example with the jumping on my own in ballet, that was a bit like and I've also had an audition where I've had to do like some centre work or corner work on my own, and that kind of threw me off. So yeah, I've learnt I need to get better at dancing solo because so often we dance in a group. And I think that's again about trusting myself and relying on me when I'm practicing rather than relying on others. Another thing I've learned is I have hyperextended legs. Now, if you don't know what hyperextended means, I will show you with my arms. So I knew I had hyperextended arms. So it's basically where you can see like my arm is straight out, but it's like bent here. It looks like it's curving up. So if it were not hyperextended, it would look something like that. But it's hyperextended, so it kind of pushes in. Now, I don't have massive hyperextension on my arms, but I didn't think I had any in my legs. And then in contemporary the other day, I was asking a question about my arms, and he was like, "Oh yeah, but because your arms slightly hyperextended, it will always feel like they're a bit bent." I was like, "Oh yeah," and he was like, "Same with your legs." I was like, "What? My legs? I didn't know my legs were hyperextended." He said, "Yeah, not very much, but slightly." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I have hyperextended legs as well. So basically that means I need to not lock back into my joints, because if you lock back into hyperextension like this, it can be bad for your joints, so your elbows or your knees. And I know you're not supposed to lock, well, I don't think you're supposed to lock back anyway, but yeah, it's something I need to watch even more because I didn't know I had hyperextended legs. Okay, moving on to singing. So I have started working a bit on thick fold singing this half term. So far since being at Bird, I've been mainly working on thin fold and twang sounds, but now I've started working on thick fold, which is basically like chest voice type thing, if that makes sense. I think like a stronger how I'm speaking sound, but singing, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's been quite exciting, something I've been wanting to work on, and I've started working on that in my individual singing lessons, and hopefully I'll have an audition song that involves thick fold at some point. So yeah, that's good. Secondly, I can now sing in front of people without getting nervous, which is good. I don't know whether that's something I did manage to master last term, but this term, obviously, sometimes I will still get nervous, but I'm getting a lot less nervous than I used to be, which is really good because singing when you're nervous is a little bit difficult sometimes. Although nerves obviously can be helpful to an extent. But anyway, yeah, that's something else I've managed to get my head around this half term. I've also put solo singing. Oh yeah, so in our MT class this time we had like auditions, like intern auditions to sing 2 solo lines, and I got to do one of the solo lines. There were also some duets, but I got to do one of the solo lines, and I think that gave me a little confidence boost, which was nice. Yeah, kind of gave me an opportunity to do a bit more acting through song in my musical theatre class, which obviously I should be doing anyway, whether I've got a solo line or not. But yeah, it was just nice to get that opportunity. Okay, now I'm going to move on to acting. So there are 3 things for acting that I've got down. The firstly is I've learnt not to get stuck in a rut with monologues. So some of my monologues I've been doing like in the same way since, when did I start learning these monologues? Like maybe before Christmas. So obviously they'd been developing and things, but my acting teacher got me to try a couple of different things in one of the lessons with the monologue, and it was like it kind of showed me that there's no right way to deliver it, and that I could try out different things and it would still have a delivery rather than just like learning a set pattern. So rather than doing this is the bit where I shout, this is the bit where I'm sad, this is the bit where I'm happy, I could switch it up a bit each time I did it. It meant I was less acting it and more feeling it. I've also learned that I need to take a breath before I start my monologue. When I'm in auditions, I tend to just go, "Hi, my name is blah blah blah, I'm doing this, blah 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 blah." go. Whereas I need to take a breath to actually get into character. That's something I need to remember for my future auditions. Finally, this is in voice, which is spoken voice. We've started learning accents, so I've started learning about the different parts of the tongue, the mouth, the different ways you make accents. We've started learning a Northern Irish accent, specifically from Belfast. So that's quite exciting. I like doing accent work. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to carry on with that next term. And finally, a couple of general points as usual. So I have learnt better how to take care of myself. This is something I think I'm going to keep learning for ages, but I've started like rolling out in the evening. I've had quite a few injuries this half term, not major ones, but it's taken me out floor work for some lessons, not meant I couldn't be jumping in certain points. So I've learned A, how to adapt exercises for different injuries, and B, I've learned some of the things I should and shouldn't be doing when I have those injuries. So I've had problems with my hip flexors, my knees, and also I've kind of still got a bit of a problem with one of my toes. So yeah, I think I'm going to make a whole video about injuries at some point and like care, prevention, treatment, things like that. So if you'd be interested in that, please let me know. And the final thing that I learned is that I'm actually quite prepared for these auditions. I'm not going to be talking massively about auditions on this channel until the summer, at least the summer, possibly beyond that. But yeah, I was expecting to go into auditions and feel like everyone's so much better than me. I don't deserve to be here. But actually, I feel like I am quite prepared. I feel more confident going into them since doing some of them. Okay, that is all I've got to say. If you've stuck with me to the end of this video, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please do give it a like to let me know. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my other videos about drama school and performing arts and things like that. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!